Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, 29th of December, 8:53 in the morning. And I think I'm on the wrong internet. Let's see. I am. That should take care of it. All right. Um, so while people are coming in, I'm going to jump into the live stream and make sure everything's good and then put my posts up. So while people are coming in, we got sound and picture, and I'll get my posts up while people come in. I don't know, we might get a lot of people today, I'm not sure. It's very hard to predict that. I don't know to what extent they display my videos and live streams to people that are not subscribed. So my advice would be to subscribe if you want to get the updates from Israel. I'm gonna put my email up and then we'll get going. Okay. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Um, it's cold and rainy, and Israel gets really cold in the houses because the houses are built to stay, 10, 15 degrees colder than the outside. They're made out of concrete and cold tile and everything. So when it's rainy and damp and cold and no sun, it's horrible. So yesterday was a hard day. The dogs getting them out and all that with the rain, and then you go outside and you sit down for a little while in the evening, and then it starts raining. It was terrible. So I think we got another 2 days of this, and then it'll be over. But it was a lot of rain yesterday. All right, so let's cover some things today. Let's go to Trump and efforts to stop him from being inaugurated. This is another plan that's emerging that they could do. On January 3rd, the Congress comes to session, I think the new Congress, and they are going to have to approve a Speaker of the House, and that's the number three position in succession: President, Vice President, Speaker. And if they can't elect the Speaker of the House, which happened in the past, it was almost 22 days for them to figure out who they were going to make the Speaker. If they can't elect the Speaker of the House, then they're not going to have any ability to ratify the electoral college votes for Trump, which happens on January 6th, because they need the Speaker of the House to call for the vote. So this is a very flimsy theory to stop Trump from getting into office, but it would be more or less a dragging out, and conceivably it could drag out past January 20th, but I don't think it's going to. I don't give a lot of credence to this theory. The other theory would stop him because he violated oaths and was allegedly causing an insurrection. It could happen. I mean, what troubles me about that is all of a sudden on the same day, a very large amount of very large mainstream media, including Fox and other publications, brought the story out because some guy in the Congress was calling for this. Was it clickbait or was it real? I don't know yet. Trump has not spoken to it. So it appears that either he doesn't know what to say or he just wants it to blow over as fake news, or I don't know what. But he hasn't spoken to it. Maybe he doesn't want to give it credibility. I don't know. But I'm sure he's well aware of it. So something like this would cause civil war in America, so we got to wait and watch and see if this goes anywhere. This I don't know yet. So we're watching on this one. It's troubling a little bit. Not that I'm not really bothered by it, but it's definitely worth watching. It seems to have blown over and it's not in the news anymore. So very slight mention of it. But that doesn't mean it's not real. But we're not picking much up. The Congress is on break. I don't think the members of the old Congress actually do anything anymore. I think they're finished. I don't even know if they come back. I mean, the ones that stayed in office, their term didn't expire. They'll be back. But I don't know. Okay, so that's on that one. It is got some threat value, and we just need to pay close attention and keep an eye out on that thing. Slovakia is now threatening Ukraine. I'll explain. Ukraine on January 1st is ending the flow of natural gas from Russia into the European Union via Ukraine. It passes, I think it's a pipeline, and it passes through Ukraine, and they're going to end the transmission or the passing of the natural gas. So that will hurt Europe because it's used for heating, and it will probably cause them to have to buy natural gas elsewhere, which would cause higher prices, transportation, and other things. So, what's the deal there? Slovakia has some electric lines that pass into Ukraine, and they said if you cut the natural gas, we're going to cut the electricity, which accounts for 19% of Ukraine's electricity. Now, Putin has been concentrating on knocking out Ukraine's electric power grid by hitting plants. So this could have some implications, making it harder for Ukraine to keep the country warm in the dead of winter and conduct the war. So we're watching on this one. Ukraine may back off on that. I don't know yet. Pakistan and or Afghanistan, which is the Taliban, are at war. One one of them declared war on the other. I think Afghanistan. But anyway, they're at war. One declared war on the other, and they're actually fighting now on the borders. They're fortifying their borders, stop an invasion, and fighting. And they're fighting live fire and all that. So we have another war. Will it calm down? It could, but we don't know. How does this fit into the greater scheme of things? If we attack Iran and weaken them, which I'm going to get into the details of this, it would cause likely two knee-jerk reactions. One is the anti-Islam people in Iran would be very encouraged to rise up against the Iranian government, and that could manifest not in protests and demonstrations, but Molotov cocktails at police stations, courts, government buildings, fires, destruction. It could be a real problem for Iran. And the Taliban have been itching to invade Iran. So if Israel weakens Iran, the Taliban may decide it's time for us to get rid of these mullahs. But they're religious fanatics in their own right. So they're into the hijab and the whipping and beating of women that don't wear it, and the whole 9 yards, So the revolutionary factor, the anti-mullah people in Iran would certainly not welcome the Taliban. Now that the Taliban is in a war with Pakistan, it seems, unless this war stops, it seems rather unlikely that the Taliban would attack Iran. I mean, that would give them two fronts. I don't think they'd want to do that, especially since Iran isn't doing anything to rock their apple cart. The only way I see Putin getting his pound of flesh, let's call it, with Ukraine is if he obliterates Ukraine, okay, with all kinds of bombers and missiles, and then just says, we're going to keep the piece of Ukraine we grabbed, which is in eastern Ukraine by Western Russia, and we're finished with Ukraine. In other words, the attack would be so devastating that Ukraine would no longer be able to fight, and to keep NATO off his back, he just pulls those troops back to that little piece of area that he grabbed for Russia and hope that the EU and NATO just let it go. If he obliterates Ukraine, like wrecks all the military bases, any military command centers, control centers, communication centers, storage facilities, it just devastates the joint. The EU may just say, okay, Putin says he's not going to push in any further, let's leave it alone. It's an outside chance. Could happen, but not highly likely. Putin is also moving missiles, tanks, and soldiers to the borders of Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, and Norway. So it looks like he might try to do the whole enchilada here, hit those countries at the same time, launching missiles and bombers at Ukraine for days and days of bombing to obliterate it. The Panama Canal. Okay, what's really going on with the Panama Canal is the Panama people are charging higher taxes or tariffs for American ships passing through the Panama Canal in a punitive way. And when you consider that America gifted them the Panama Canal when they pulled out around the year 2000, it's pretty silly. But in a lot of these countries, you'll find this in Africa, Central South America, and other places around the world. The people are like children. You, a lot of them grew up malnourished. The parents didn't know anything about good food, so they gave them whatever tasted good to the kids, and their brains didn't develop correctly, and they're like kids, like children. Although they're 30, 40, 50 years old, they're like children. So that's what Panama is doing, and Trump is angry about that. And um, now, what Panama did is, when you have this canal, you have container ship offloading and onloading also. Now, the Panama Canal is predominantly for ships to pass through, okay? So they go from one ocean to another. And that's what the locks in the canal accomplish. So China is a big player because they built and maintain and run the port of Panama, which is not really in the canal, where they offload and onload ships. So China's got some sway there. They could decide they want to bring troops in to protect their investment, but they haven't done that. So far, uh, I don't think the Panama Canal is that essential to China that they would engage a war with America over something like that, but I don't think so. I don't know what points of law Trump would use to take the canal back, other than Panama was picking on him and take it back. Panama was glad when America left in 2000. First of all, they inherited two bases. I guess it was a Navy base by the canal, and which they kept 25,000 soldiers there. So it was a considerably sizable base. Now, the base used to keep 100,000 people there, like in World War II, and I don't know what other years, but around World War II, they had 100,000 soldiers there. A lot of Navy ships. They have a base, an Air Force base near there. Oh, I don't know. It's probably 15 or 25 miles away or something. Called Fort Howard, and the Panama government took this land over and they made them into housing units and sold them and things like that. Now, when America had a good amount of people there, they was supporting the Panama economy to a great extent. Even when they had 25,000 soldiers there, they were feeding the economy nicely because these people were making American dollars and American money, an American standard of living. So a guy that was a sergeant or something like that would probably make as much money as a executive vice president of a company or something like that back then. So, or maybe just like a big manager of a company, things like that. So they um, were spending money heavily on the base. A lot of these people lived on the base, and the base had their own American military stores. They'd buy things, they'd buy gas there, they'd buy food there, they could get a certain amount of clothing. But the soldiers or the sailors would still go to the town and, you know, go eat out, go to a bar, or go to the movies, or whatever they were going to do, right? Um, and it was when the Americans were there, it was a rather safe place. But they did things that the people of Panama didn't like. Like if there was some sort of a crime that directly or indirectly involved the American base or soldiers or equipment or the Panama Canal, their military police would investigate the crime inside the country of Panama if that's where the investigation led them. So they would go knock on doors and they would say, you know, CID, criminal investigation detail, I guess. You know, you have MPs, then the next tier up is CID, which are like detectives, or in Navy parlance, I guess you would have shore patrol, which are the same as MPs, and then you would have something like a CID, which was their detectives, and then you got into Navy intelligence. Navy intelligence would not get into situations of a nature of an assault, a drunken brawl, a rape, an attempted rape, break-in of a car to steal a tape deck or something, a shoplifting, or you know, writing a bad check. They wouldn't bother with that stuff. They would be more, that's criminality. They're more interested in things that were very threatening to the Americans at large in their bases. But the police side of the fence, which at the Air Force Base would be AP, Air Police, I think they call it, or Air Patrol, or Air Police, I don't know. And then they have another tier, which are probably detectives, and then they have intelligence. So they would investigate cases in off the base, and it irritated the people because they would be usurping authority coming around as law enforcement officers, and they're not Panamanian. They likely would know some Spanish, but you know, it irritated the people. They weren't that happy about it, but they were probably elated during World War II because they had 100,000 military there that was spending money in Panama and protecting Panama from the Axis powers, which would not have been pleasant for Panama to be under Japan or Nazi Germany. They wouldn't have been a great thing. So, but they quickly forget, you know. The Americans used to teach classes to the Panamanians that would get hired on the base. They would use them for grounds maintenance, janitorial work, clerical work, um, things like this. Manual, blue collar labor, manual labor. And they would teach them courses in English for free, and they cover the culture of the American military and how the people expect things to function and all of that. Um, so anyway, what they're doing now is not a nice thing. raising the tariff just for American vessels is picking on America, and it's not a great idea what they're doing. So Biden doesn't care, you know. Oh yeah, take advantage of America. Why not? Everybody else does, including me. So this is, you know, Trump is mad. Trump is likely trying to get them to stop. Okay. So Panama is a big deal. It's a big deal, but the government's ignoring it. First of all, Trump's not in office yet, and they don't know what Trump would do. But all Trump would have to do is send, you know, if he wants to make a point, send an aircraft carrier down there with 3 or 4 escort vessels and 2 Marine Expeditionary Force landing ships with about 1,500 recon Marines, or Expeditionary Force Marines, I should say, on each ship, and that would do it. They don't even need the aircraft carrier. These landing ships carry planes, and that would be it. They would concede. They would negotiate. That's what they would do. There's a proposal flying around in Israel that Qatar is a prime way for Israel to retaliate against Iran, or America to retaliate against Iran. Not Iran, Hamas in Gaza for the hostages. What they're proposing is that Qatar is very involved with Hamas, and they are. And they're not really our friend at all. So the emphasis is Trump should put, you know, pressure on Qatar, perhaps sanctions or policy changes and stuff like that. And that would hurt Hamas. This is a bad theory. Hamas wouldn't care what happens to Qatar. They're not going to give the hostages back. If Trump took 100 bombers and bombed Qatar, they wouldn't give the hostages back. It's not anything that I think is meaningful. I do believe that people are right that are carrying this story. It's, I think, one person that Qatar is complicit with Hamas, but punishing Qatar isn't going to help. Is it raining? Guys, I gotta check for rain. The doors are outside. Give me a minute. I might have to bring them in. I don't want them in the rain. I don't think it's raining. I'm hearing something. I better check. Be right back. I'll be right back, guys.
It was raining.
I had to find them. They were hiding. One was. was misting out there. It wasn't really raining, but sorry I had to bring the dogs in. This business with the Afghanistan and Pakistan fighting could be Turkey's in on this. Turkey's building some sort of weapons, I think missiles, facilities for Pakistan. Turkey, why Turkey would do this, I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know why they would do it. I don't know. It doesn't add up. Because Turkey would probably likely want to see the Taliban fight Iran. All right. This weather is very hard with the dogs and everything and the birds. The terrorists in Yemen, the Houthi geniuses, tried to hit Israel again yesterday, and we accomplished interception takedowns before anything flying towards Israel entered into Israel's space. So it's not working for them. It's also their reporting, nobody else, that they attacked a ship that had some ties to either bringing goods into Israel or taking them out, or some other ship in the shipping line did that or something. Some stupid thing, but I don't believe they got a hit. Nobody's reporting that they hit any ship, but they did probably shoot at a ship. The Houthis consider it a victory when they launch a missile towards Israel and the red alerts go off and people go to the bomb shelters. And then the missile gets taken down. Idiots. Now, Israel's talking about every time the Houthis do this, attack not only the Houthis, but Iran. And we're going to cover the details. There's a ban on TikTok that's supposed to kick in January 15th. Now, Trump, who is not in office, filed some petition or papers to the Supreme Court to not enforce, not let that go into force on the 15th of January, to wait until Trump takes office, and then he could try to negotiate the situation. The problem, in a nutshell, is the service for TikTok are in China. So everything somebody does on TikTok is known by China. Okay? So that's one problem they have. But I think the real problem they have is that TikTok's not censoring, like Facebook or the other, big media. X censors. This business of Elon not censoring is malarkey. So that's what this is about. And I don't really know what the Supreme Court will do. They might listen to him. The solutions run along the lines of having somebody buy TikTok that has servers in another jurisdiction, not China, or have somebody or have TikTok move the server somewhere else. So apparently the US wants to be able to know what's going on in TikTok, and they can't right now. It's not a major thing, but we'll have to see what happens. There's always room for somebody else to come up with another social media platform. Trump would probably like to see something fall apart with TikTok to make it not as attractive to people that are avoiding censorship. So it would bolster X back up. But X censors quite a bit. Netanyahu's going to the hospital today to have some sort of surgery. The backstory is he was having urinary tract infections. And they're saying prostate, but many of you know for why I would highly doubt that it's a prostate. Apparently this problem's been going on for a while. And this could be a reason why the attack on Iran is delayed. It'll probably keep Netanyahu, it's hard to say if it's a laparoscopy, Netanyahu will be functional tonight, if it's something more serious, he may not be functional till Wednesday or Thursday or something, I don't know. Usually urinary infections are treated with medicines, but maybe there's some type of a blockage or something going on causing this to happen. I don't really know. And I don't think they're telling us the whole truth. It could be something to do with his heart. I don't know. They did put a surgically implanted pacemaker. If that needs to be changed or something like that, they might be afraid to talk about it because it could cause more attacks on Israel or something like that. So they might be calling it urinary tract, and it could be his heart again. I don't know. He spent many days testifying in his court case, so that's another reason for the delay. And maybe this is a ploy to get him to not have to keep testifying in his court case. Or, I don't know why, but I really don't believe it has anything to do with this character's prostrate. Yafa. So, let's talk about attacking Iran and what's going on. Okay? Israel did about 500 strikes in Syria when Assad fell, destroying radars, anti-aircraft missile, ground-to-ground missiles, weapons storage, command centers, buildings, anything and everything pertaining to Assad's army. Boom, 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 day after day after day after day. We're being told that we took out 80 to 90% of their missile launch capability, depending on what kind of missile it was. But what we did do that they're not telling you is open up a corridor for our aircraft to fly through Syria, then into Iraq, and then into Iran. Now, previously, well, let me explain a few things. For our jets to hit Iran, we need to refuel them in flight. Okay? This would be the same for American fighter jets and so forth. So what we could do now, refueling tankers are sitting ducks for even, 25-year-old anti-aircraft missiles, okay? So it was too dangerous for us to fly over Syria with refueling tankers. Because if the tankers get hit, the jets can't get home. And that's bad news. So, what happens? Now we fly through this corridor that's cleared of threats to our fighter jets and the refueling tankers. This knocks 600 or 700 kilometers off the trip to Iran. Each way, I believe. So it greatly reduces the travel, the distance. Now, the way it would work now is with this corridor open, the Israeli fighter jets, which could be F-15s, F-16s, F-35s, would fly into Syria, like the farthest edge of Syria from Israel. And there, the Israeli jets, the fighters, would take new fuel. They refuel over Syria because there's no threat there. And Syria is way too far away for Iran to shoot any anti-aircraft missile meaningfully at the plane. So that's off the table. And then all the way out to the, let's call it the eastern edge of Syria, which you got to remember, American bases are in northeastern Syria predominantly. So they're protecting our refueling tankers additionally. Plus the Kurds are there, which are not antagonistic to Israel whatsoever. And the SDF is there, which is backed by America. So there's no threat there. And the Israeli fighter jets would then refuel. Now they would traverse through Iraq, which might require more taking out of radar in Iraq, but I think it's already been done. And then from Iraq enter Iran. But now they got their fuel tanks topped off, so the jets can fly around all over Iran. Israeli jets, attacking ports, piers, refineries, nuclear facilities, as well as military command centers, communication centers, intelligence centers, airports, radar, missile launch facilities, missile factories, ammunition factories, weapon factories, all sorts of stuff. Of course, our planes are going to have a lot of fuel. Then when they finish their mission, they just have to return to the edge of Syria and refuel. The fighter jets could loiter over there because there's no ground threat. There's no aircraft threat either. Wait for the fighter jets to come back and then refuel them, and then everybody heads back to Israel. So by refueling the Israeli jets right at the edge of Syria, the eastern edge, we'll call it, they got a lot of fuel to traverse around Iran, blowing up all sorts of stuff. And then all they got to worry about is making it back to the eastern part of Syria and refueling and then coming home. So they could really do much more capable strikes. Now, this capability was realized a few weeks ago. Why haven't we struck? Well, that's a really hard question to answer. It could be Biden. Biden could be worried that if Israel strikes Iran, the Houthis could really rise up and start striking Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and who knows what else. Jordan. Israel's not very worried about that at all. Israel's worried about the Houthis continuing to attack Israel every day. But the people in Israel are getting sick and tired of it. It also, I would imagine, intel from America anyway would state that attacking Iran is not going to stop the Houthis from attacking. It will accelerate the attacks. They'll do more. Mossad may have came to the same conclusion. It could be. So this shifts the game to let's keep attacking the Houthis at different targets until they're ineffective, and then we hit Iran. If the Houthis try to do a ground invasion into Saudi Arabia, that could be dealt with. Saudi has a military. They got tanks. They got aircraft. They got modern aircraft. They got artillery. America would help them. That'd be all right. Missile attacks are scary because they could start hitting the oil refineries. So Biden doesn't care about Israelis having to go to bomb shelters every night or our airport getting hit. He could care less about that. He is more worried about the Muslim oil producing states in the region. Also comes Netanyahu's health, which is he's going for an operation on something today. I doubt we know what it really is. I'm suspicious of his pacemaker in the heart. They might just be changing the pacemaker to a different model, or it could be not functioning correctly, and it could be. That's a very superficial procedure to change that out, and he could be back in the saddle tomorrow or the day after. Then he may push the attack on Iran. I don't know. It's not going to stop the Houthis. And Iran's not going to tell the Houthis to stop. Iran knows nobody's likely to ground invade them, which is what it would really take to take the country over. But if you just want to destroy the country, which is what's going to happen in Jeremiah 49, why bother with an invasion? Just bomb it. It looks to me that the game plan is to deactivate the Houthis a lot more before they take on Iran. So it's not that much Biden stalling Netanyahu just to be stalling him. It's stalling Netanyahu because they're very worried about Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan getting hit, and this type of thing. Plus, the Houthis might unload on American bases in Saudi Arabia and other places as well. And that kind of makes some sense. Now, our occupation of a lot of land in Syria, we're only 9 or 10 miles outside of Damascus, is a tactically or strategically great thing for Israel because Iran has no way to get missiles and weapons into Lebanon for Hezbollah anymore. They can't bring them to Syria and then give them to Hezbollah to transport to Lebanon. They can't do anything. So Hezbollah has suffered a tremendous amount of loss of their leaders and their weapons. While they still have a lot of weapons left, they have no leaders. New leaders they have. And they're not able to hang around south of the Litani River. The Lebanese military are there and the Israeli military, and we have a lot of drones and planes doing recon. They're not operating. They're not functioning. And they're not likely to start functioning anytime soon, if ever at all. Now, Israel took over the Syrian side of Mount Hermon and the Syrian side of the West Bank. I would assume Israel is already building radar on Mount Hermon, or they've already completed it. And this radar will be very large, very high-powered radar that, from this high peak, will enable Israel to know everything going on in Syria and probably Iraq and Lebanon, because it goes 360, 360 degrees. So we would be able to detect things happening in Lebanon that radar could pick up, and Syria and Iraq. So if Iran's going to launch missiles from Iran, they would pass over Syria and we would detect them, and we'd have much, much more warning time to be able to take them down via jets, via anti-aircraft missiles, and so forth. In addition, Iran can't have missile launches take place in Syria via Hezbollah or other militia groups they backed, because those days are over. They wouldn't be able to do drone launching. They wouldn't be able to do anything. So we're looking very good right now for an attack on Iran. But these Houthi attacks are troubling. And I think the Americans want to focus on ending those. And they keep attacking. I believe they attacked America, and the UK attacked again the Houthis. So one day Israel attacks, the next day America and UK attacks. They rock and roll back and forth. And the Houthis keep taking more and more damage. Why they haven't stopped their missile launch capability yet, I don't understand. Maybe they don't know where the missiles are being hidden or how they're being hidden. They could be in between residential buildings. They could be on the roof of residential buildings. I don't know. I don't know what they're up to. Chances are they can't hit them. They don't know where they are. They're not in favor of the Houthis taking down shipping in the Red Sea. So this is weird, you know. But it's going to lead to the destruction of Edom, which is Yemen, I believe. So Israel is in a great posture right now to attack Iran. Now, Netanyahu may intelligently be afraid to do it with Biden in office because he's so treacherous. And his word is worthless. So he might be waiting for Trump. Now, if Trump gets not sworn in on the 20th, Israel's in a lot of trouble. But I'm not putting a lot of credence on that right now. It could happen, but I'm not. I'm starting to doubt it. If they have trouble with the Speaker of the House, it's more than likely going to be a delay of a few days, that's all. Not anything revolutionary. I think if there was a threat, Trump would be rather vocal about it in terms of Iran guiding missiles into Israel. It's no good for that. That would be my take on that. And I don't know, maybe 3 or 6 of those or something like that. He's not going to give them 100. And they're not that effective. And it just means we have more stuff to take out. But there's so many targets in Iran You know, you got military airports, military bases, weapons factories, uh, their Department of Defense command control, intelligence centers, IRGC headquarters, where the Iranian parliament meets. I mean, it's just loaded with targets. So, I mean, how much? I mean, let's say Putin gives them 5 or 10 of these things. It's not going to cut it, you know. If he gave them 100, it's still not going to stop the attack. But it means we got a real nightmare taking out 100 of these things. But I don't think it's going to be anything like that. They're first going to sign the treaty on January 17th, and then Putin has yet to go deliver the weapons to Iran after that. So I'm not that worried about that one. Let's see what's going on in the live stream. No, the Gog and Magog war is not for today. It says Israel's living in peace and safety without bars and walls, with cattle, silver, and gold. If you think that's Israel today, it's Zechariah 12. I know the churches don't usually talk about Zechariah 12, some do. It's Zechariah 12. We got a honest guy here. If the leadership in Iran is toppled, who fills the vacuum? Well, it depends if they destroy the whole government or not, you know. They have a lot of revolutionaries that want to overthrow the government inside Iran. So, Bible prophecy in Jeremiah 49 refers to Iran as Elam, Elam, and it just gets devastated, and the people have to leave, and they get scattered into all the different nations of the world where the sword pursues them. So that's what happens to Iran, and I think we're pretty close. Now, we, you know, this is something the churches never understand. Zechariah 3, Malachi 3, rather, Malachi 3, we see Elijah in the temple and Elijah training the Levites, and Elijah is one of the two witnesses, Apostle John be the other, because it was told he must prophesy again to many people, different people, and that never happened. So, when Elijah's training the Levites, I don't believe we're going to be under attack. So I think we're being moved into that posture now, which would account for the following. Hamas is 99% deactivated. They try missile launch every now and then, and it doesn't go anywhere. It lands in an open space or gets taken down, or it lands in Gaza or something. Hezbollah doesn't even try to launch anymore from Lebanon. Nothing is coming out of Syria. So who's doing it? The Houthis in Yemen, which the UK and the USA are bombing, and Israel is bombing. And Iraq is still a threat because they could basically launched drones at us from Iraq. Maybe some missiles, but I doubt there's any real good ones that would do anything. And then you have potential Iran. So it's likely that these additional targets, Yemen, Iraq, and Iran, will be hit before Malachi 3 with Elijah and the temple working openly. Um, because I don't see Elijah training the Levites in the temple um, while it's raining down ordnance, drones, and missiles. I doubt it. So that means Iran has to be disabled, as well as the Houthis and Iraq. And that's not a big job. That could happen in a handful of days, kids. Very easily. And it leaves the bad ones intact in the geography. So the Hamas is still in Gaza, the Hezbollah is still in Lebanon. All kinds of crazy fringe groups are in Syria, and there's still bad ones in Lebanon. And then comes Iran, which is all bad ones, or mostly all. And these bad ones can rise up for Zechariah 12 as a reaction to Elijah appearing along with the temple and training the Levites and bringing Israel into the blessings of the law. Now, people in the church world don't buy into the blessings of the law and the curses of the law. They are of the opinion the law was done away with, although Yeshua said the opposite. Don't think, Matthew 5:17, don't think I came to destroy the law or the prophets, but to fulfill. See, they stopped reading there. The next verse, verse 18 in Matthew 5 says, for as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. So, Yeshua had no knowledge of the law being eliminated or destroyed or thrown away. And Paul, contrary to the belief of the people that propagate this, the law is gone, said if there was no law, there'd be no sin. So if there was no law, what about, why not adultery, murder, lying, stealing, cheating, unequal weights and measure? Why would any of these things be a sin if there was no law? You'd be allowed to go do these things. And obviously, in Galatians 5:19 to 21, it names some of these things, and if you do them, it says you're not going to enter the kingdom of God. I'll go through a couple with you very quickly. Galatians 5:19 to 21. So it starts off like this. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, so that's still not good. Fornication, not good. Uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, well, that's still not allowed. Witchcraft, not allowed. Hatred, variance. Variance is having different doctrinal statements in the churches and teaching the people that we don't know. So everybody has their own different way of believing the Bible, and that's error, of course. So, your examples would be pre-trib, pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, pray in tongues, don't pray in tongues, baptize in the Holy Spirit, don't baptize in the Holy Spirit, on down the line. Emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, and divisions. Some are with Cephas, some are with Apollos, Some are Baptist, some are Lutheran, some are Assembly of God. That's forbidden. Heresies related to the denominations. Envyings, murders. Okay, so murders is still not allowed. Drunkenness is not allowed. Revellings, that's like rave parties and things like that. And such like which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So they got all that wrong. So, the blessings of the law are not very complicated. Deuteronomy 28 explains that. Uh, and it shall come to pass that thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Jehovah Elohim to observe and to do all his commandments. Now, some of these commandments have been modified or changed. Take divorce. Well, with Moses' day, they just gave the woman the bill of divorce, and she was out. Now, in the New Testament, it's reserved for, adultery, or if the spouse just leaves you, goes and moves away. Okay. Uh, to all the commandments which I command thee this day, that Jehovah Elohim will set thee on high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee. So if they're following the commandments, these blessings come on them, but they need to have the temple to do it. So it never happened for 2,000 or so years, as per Hosea 6:1-2. Well, we knew this was the case, and that's why we had the age of grace, where the believers did not have to do the temple sacrifices and offerings during this period of no temple, because Yeshua paid the price. But the people are the temple of the Holy Spirit, and the church has confused the people, and not every church, but a bunch of them, and tell them that the Lord is dead. Now, most of the churches have it wrong, if not all of them. I think all of them. But they, some observe the Sabbath, for instance, and that kind of thing. That the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. That's Satan's fear. A restored Israel, redeemed Israel, restored to Jehovah, being the head of the nations, he's cooked. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, that if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Jehovah Elohim. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. So if you're working in the city and you're doing selling sandals or incense or something, you can't sell temple incense, but incense you can sell. And blessed shall be in the field. So if you're working the land, you'll be blessed there. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, that's your children, and the fruit of thy ground, that's what you're growing, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kin, the flocks of thy sheep. So your animals will reproduce. So when you think about it, if you got 10 cows, and 2 or 3 years later, they reproduce, and you got, 40, 50 cows, and then eventually you got 150, and over time you become wealthy just from this. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, okay, we did that. Now I'm in verse 5. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store, the stuff you're saving. Blessed shall, the basket would be, probably your food and supplies, Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. That could be coming in and out of Israel. Jehovah shall cause thy enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. Jehovah shall command the blessing upon thee. The Lord shall command, or it says Jehovah, shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouse and in all that thou settest thy hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which Jehovah Elohim giveth thee. So it happens in the land with a temple. Jehovah shall establish thee a holy people unto himself. He hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. And this is why Satan is teaching people that the Lord's done away with. And all people of the earth, and all it's saying, all the people of the land of Israel, Haaretz, shall see if thou shalt keep the commandments of Jehovah Elohim and walk in his ways, and all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Jehovah, and they shall be afraid of thee. In Numbers 6, the Kohanim, the priests, put the name Jehovah on the children of Israel. I've done that many times. I'm a Kohanim. I have the Holy Spirit. I did it for real. And Jehovah shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, that's kids, in the fruit of thy cattle, that's them having a lot of babies, and in the fruit of thy ground, um, in the that would be your fruit trees, etc., reproducing, multiplying, of thy ground in the land which Jehovah swore unto thy fathers to give thee. Jehovah shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto the land in his season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend unto many heathens, what it says, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of Jehovah Elohim, which I command you this day to observe and to do, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods or serve them. But if it shall come to pass that thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Jehovah Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Well, then they get the curses of the law because they're not following the law. Okay? That's what goes on. So, this is sadly foreign to the churches because they don't understand any of this. Because they're not taught correctly. And that's the problem. And they're going to go into pretty grievous confusion pretty soon. Real soon. So things are probably leading to an attack on Iran. And Netanyahu might be waiting till we get closer to the 20th, which would probably be around the 10th or something like that. Because then when, let's say you hit Iran on the 10th, let's pick a date, I don't know, you know, and the damage would keep them reeling for weeks, and then Trump gets it. But the Houthis is a concern. They gotta be deactivated. And I don't know if they're gonna bother deactivating Iraq if Iraq just says they're gonna play dead and do nothing, and may leave them alone. Iraq can't do much. So it looks like after the Houthis are disabled a lot and then Iran gets hit, that Elijah will emerge. Assuming the Houthis and Iran get hit enough where they're not able to threaten Israel anymore, then Elijah may start appearing in Jerusalem working openly. And that could be, 5, 10, 15, 20 days or something like that. I don't know. But it's not long. Is Russia going to break out into war in Europe? I don't know. I think so. I don't know when. And China and North Korea are playing very, their cards very close to the chest right now. No threatening moves. No unusual missile launches are circling Taiwan with warships and planes. So they're very likely up to something. It's, the world at large doesn't really understand what's going to happen. And the daughter of Babylon will, in a very near period of time, be no more. Edom will be no more, which is Yemen, and Iran will be wiped out. Nobody will be living there either. And then there's plenty of bad actors in place in a lot of the surrounding countries to rise up for Zechariah 12c. That's how I see it going down. We're very, very close. And because it's end times, we don't know how close we really are. And we don't know when everything's going to start happening. But remember, Syria fell in 11 days with an army of 300,000 people. That was amazing. Syria has some sort of a navy, not much, but had a decent air force to some extent. country they were, and a lot of missiles and stuff, and they went down in 11 days. So expect surprises, twists, and turns. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Pray for the Lord to keep me out of these, people trying to drag me in as a witness, that people trying to serve me with papers. I don't know. I don't want to get involved in any of that nonsense. Pray for peace of Jerusalem, and pray for better videos. Pray for the birds and the dogs to be happy, healthy, and whole. And they're all rescues. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And if you want the updates, my advice is to subscribe, because I don't think you're going to be exposed to the videos and the live streams unless you subscribe. And that's what I got. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. Thank you.